Were we ever going to win? Was there even a chance? Miro heard and hated the soft despair in his voice. A soft smile in return. The human female's cheek of olive skin leaned against her own palm, her lips curling upward, curled auburn hair falling across one eye. She flashed a momentary grin, a shocking glimpse of gleaming white, and just as quickly it vanished. We've talked about this quite a few times, Miro. No, honey, I'm afraid not. What about Vinros Free? Ah, yes, that was you. How have we not talked about it after almost 3 months? Her eyebrows raised marginally, appraising, and she dipped her head almost imperceptibly toward him. A very impressive victory. She glanced down, checking her notes. You led the 11th Kenga Light Armored and routed the human forces. Decorated and promoted, yes? From captain to major? He felt the pride flutter in his chest, before smirking at its meaninglessness. Except I didn't rout anyone, did I? A small, sympathetic smile. The cheek lean again. Why do they have to be so nice to look at it? Doom should have been ugly, but it wasn't. He should have felt like a traitor for how much he looked forward to these sessions, but he couldn't quite bring himself to think that way. Maybe something in the water. No, darling, not really. But you did really impress us with that one. Colonel Hoskins noted as much. He's a full bird, you know. They don't throw out a lot of praise. He called your ambush action, to quote from his notes, novel and astonishing, given the disposition of forces in theatre at the time. Some real pattern shit. He didn't know what full bird meant or what pattern shit referred to, but he remembered Colonel Hoskins, and he understood her meaning. He was a mean bastard. Took out half of my 11th, even while being hit with a surprise flank attack. How do you defeat that? She laughed and flashed that intoxicating grin again. He forced himself to break eye contact. Steady on, soldier of the Empire. Yeah, he's kind of an asshole. Knows talent, though. And funnier than you think. And how about you? He couldn't help but ask, what's your talent? The gentle smile appeared again. Wow, you finally asked. But I'm guessing you know by now. Debrief, cultural liaison, and counselling all in one. They just call me a crashdown specialist for short. I'm here for you. You know that by now too, I hope. For as long as you need to understand and make peace. And I really do enjoy our chats. Let's end the session for now. If you go on one of your midnight strolls, I'll try to meet you again tonight, if that would be okay. It would. Great. See you tonight, Miro. He shook his head at himself as he left. A Ralvian major, honoured of the Empire, scheduled for an extra interrogation session yet again. So why didn't he feel the dread he should have? Crashdown specialist. It was a fair term. The crashdown had been hard to handle. The war against the humans had been in its 9th year, and was going poorly for the Ralvian forces. What initially had seemed an easy border expansion against a marginally defended colony world had turned into a nightmare, a sudden understanding why nobody messed with the humans. Despite the frantic pleas from the front lines, the brass had insisted in pressing the war effort for almost a decade. The Ralvian Empire was a husk of what it once had been. Most experts projected defeat within a year. The frontline troops called the humans the Vanishers, in a mixture of hate and fear. Their naval weapons, their infantry weapons, their artillery. If they hit you, you just vanished. Even full-size capital ships, once their shields were breached, once they had taken enough hits, just pulsed sea blue and vanished. Even when you shot their ships and soldiers, the same thing happened. A cerulean pulse and then nothing. The only reason the war had gone on for so long was that the Ralvian Empire had been truly massive and just as merciless, with a horde of conscripts and vassals to feed into the grinder. Or vanisher, as it were. In recent months, there had been some glimmer of hope. Humans had been routed and cleansed at Vinros 3, Gauxia 11, and all planets of the Arathon system. It was theorized that perhaps they were wearing as thin as the Ralvian. When Miro's luck finally ran out, he saw how false that hope had been. Clambering into the trench, bringing up his carbine, the dirty-faced human bringing his up first, the cerulean pulse, the white. The clean room, a comfortable bed, temperature, lighting, food and drink to Ralvian preferences, very similar to human, but a bit warmer and a bit more protein-heavy. And her, Madeline, his crushdown specialist. With her soft voice she had explained the basics, and his world turned upside down. The crashdown. Nobody had died. Nothing had been lost. Not in the whole war. Human weapons teleported rival soldiers and ships to a number of artificial human planetoids and orbitals called tongue-in-cheek POW planets. They were places of unparalleled luxury, resorts of impossible splendor, each tuned to the preferences of the prisoner species. Miro was confident that even the richest and most elite Ralvians in the history of the Empire had never lived in such utter luxury. All of the resort fare imaginable was there. Delicacies fit for kings, lush gardens, crystal pools, massages, music, plays and literature available on tap, team sports and gymnasia, endless non-lethal tolerance for escape attempts. It was a variant of their frontline weapons. No zapping, no torture, you were just hit, a wash of cerulean, and you woke up back in your room. He had only tried once. As he gazed up at the dazzling starlit sky of the orbital, he exhaled in amusement as he gazed up at what had to be a sizable percentage of the Ralvian Royal Armada, lovingly maintained in a truly gargantuan dry dock. Humans toiled in the shipyards, repairing and refitting the ships until they were better furnished and more efficient than they had been new. Not to keep, to eventually return. Their crews were interred in the same luxury Miro enjoyed. He felt Madeline arrive beside him. She didn't speak, content to quietly coexist. Finally, he spoke. "Why, Madeline?" "Why what, Miro?" Her voice was dusky, soothing. Every time they spoke, he wanted to return home less, no matter how hard he tried to recall his captivity training. "You could crush us. You could have crushed us the first week." "Yes." "But you didn't." "No." "So why?" Madeline took so long to answer he thought she had not heard. Then his body flooded with pleased alertness as he felt her warm weight lean against him slightly. Other than her hands occasionally brushing his shoulder or hand, they had never touched. He had not realized how much he had ached for that contact. "The same reason you stare at me for a little longer than you think you should during our sessions, Miro?" "Wait, that's..." he stammered. Her easy, soothing laugh. A flash of white in the dark night. "It's okay. It's really okay. Ralvians are a little less subtle than humans about these things. Not just that reason, but that's part of it. It's because we are so much more similar to you than we are different. You are living as so many of us have lived in our history. We see your beauty and potential, the power behind the art you create here with us, and that which the Empire hasn't banned and destroyed. We see the power and genuine truth in your emotions. We see the empathy and altruism aching to burst through the conditioning. If we had just crushed you, you'd have learned that what your Ralvian overlords have been teaching you is correct. Power wins, mercy is weakness, love is treason. All that conditioning I've watched you spend these last few months overcoming. What has this taught us instead? What do you think you've learned? I don't understand. What did I tell you when you'd been here a month, Miro? That I could leave any time, You shuttled me back to a neutral zone where I could rejoin my forces.
So why haven't you?
It's his turn to be silent.
Do you know how many of your people have taken us up on that offer? I checked those figures last week. They're amazing. 3,106 in 9 years. Out of 11 million prisoners of war, only 3,106 chose short-term memory erasure and return. Everyone else has stayed. Do you know how many of these orbitals we've had to build? 28. They used to be free. Her weight and warmth against him no longer startled him. It felt right. It felt more profoundly true than anything he had ever known. She filled his senses, both exotic and comforting, and he felt a compressed weight of grief and regret press through him along with it, realizing that in the repressive militaristic culture he had given his life to, he had never truly lived until he died. He murmured, barely audible, choked with emotion. You know why. She breathed back her answer, her breath sweet in the close space between them. You stayed because you wanted to stay, Miro. Without looking, he knew she was smiling again. Come to think of it, that's probably the same reason I took myself off duty as your crashdown specialist 2 months ago. Despite himself, he barked laughter. Wait, what? Ethics issues, she exclaimed defensively, also laughing. You can't really be the warden for someone you're catching feelings for. What about our sessions? It's just been us talking, Miro. Since the 2nd month. Just you and I. When the truth of the vanishing was revealed a few months later, and all Ralvian soldiers and ships were repatriated, the Ralvian Empire was toppled almost overnight in a bloodless coup. The newly formed Ralvian Republic allied with the Human Confederacy. The vote in the new Ralvian Republic Congress was unanimous. The final tally was no death and almost no destruction. Only an oppressed species being taught that how they lived had always been a choice, and that there is a better one. The Ralvian Empire's pursuit of conquest, in the end, crumbled in the face of humanity's pursuit of art, love, and leisure. The Ralvian people, at long last, understood that humanity had perfected conquest far before they had ever met, and had found it wanting. The silence was long. Dawn was breaking on the orbital. They watched it together. Madeline? Yeah, Miro? Want to get one of those lattes you can't live without? I think I want one too. She stretched, yawned, and tilted her head into his shoulder with a grin, her exhaustion mingling with the happiness she no longer had to disguise. I thought you'd never ask.